There were a lot of movies last year that I don't really have another platform to talk about them. And I would like to talk about them here on this channel. And I figured that I've never really done a video like a top 10 of the year before. So I wanted to do the top 10 of 2021, baby. I'm just trying to get my list up. This is for me to know. I'm going to edit all this right out. You're going to be none the wiser. 2021. I imagine with this kind of list that a lot of people do like honorable mentions, but we're not going to do honorable mentions here because I have none. I kind of only just have a top 10. Like, there were other films I saw this year, but they just wouldn't make it. Like, if the year didn't have these 10 movies, it would have to be like a top 7 or a top 6, which is to say that, like, I don't think any of these movies, not even like my favorite, is going to be like top of the decade. But when you compare it to 2020, which I thought was just abysmal, mostly due to the virus, obviously, but this year's definitely an improvement. Now, I know I said I didn't have any honorable mentions, but to just briefly go over some of the other films I saw this year, I did see the new Matrix movie. It had some promising scenes. It felt like watching a commentary track on the Matrix itself. And those were the things I sort of liked about it. But as an action-adventure movie, as like, you know, I thought it was a complete mess. I thought Jonathan Groff as Mr. Smith was just awful. Let's go. I saw June. I thought June was just really boring and played it really safe. Now, objectively, it's a better movie than I think it is. I think it's great for the fans of the book. You've got a very faithful adaptation, but I think as a movie, it doesn't really take any risks. It's very, I don't know, stale and one-dimensional. Some of the themes I agree with. I like, but they haven't come to a complete picture yet because the film's only halfway done. So I'll maybe review it when it becomes like a complete package. French Dispatch was very disappointing. I think it would have been better if they went 22 short films about Springfield style and made it like a bunch of like little 5-minute shorts. I was just expecting more. I think anthology didn't really suit Wes Anderson. I don't think the stories were able to become very like complex or that interesting. They were very sort of like, this is that, yada yada yada, conflict resolved, someone dies, and then that's it. And it's sort of, other movies of his I've really liked, and I'm still looking forward to whatever he does in the future, but The French Dispatch was a miss from me. And that's coming from a guy that loves style over substance, and in fact argues that style is substance. Malignant was stupid, but lots of fun. I recommend it. It's not a good movie, though. Don't Look Up, the movie everybody's talking about. I don't have too much of an opinion. It was alright. I had a couple of laughs. It's a good movie to just sort of watch. Okay, so now it's time for my top 10 of 2021. Are you ready? Have you got your seatbelts in? Are you tucked in? My 10th spot. I was very excited for this movie, and I'll be the first to admit it is a bit of a snoozer. By design, in fact. I watched Apachapong, Wes Therakul's new film. I don't know exactly how you pronounce that. I watched his film Memoria. It was sort of slow. Tilda Swinton, I thought, really carried it and gave like a really interesting performances, and there was a lot of space given to the framing and the compositions of the shots, and it seemed to be about how certain things contain memories, but or sounds could contain ghosts of things. And that a lot of these things are being put into different locations and I guess displaced, so a lot of the context is gone. And it's sort of about a woman sort of obsessing over this strange sound she hears. You sort of get like a hypnotic kind of reflective journey about that has a truly bizarre ending. And I think it's the kind of film that you either already know about and like those sort of films, or like you'll think it's the worst film you've ever seen in your life. Like you'll be bored to tears. But I thought Memoria was pretty solid. Number 9. Now, I want to preface this one by saying there was a lot of movies I didn't get to see. See, I live in Australia, so a lot of the movies that are coming up to see here, especially foreign movies like Drive My Car or Bergman Island or something. We're not going to get here till like February, or like Come On, which I'm seeing on a lot of lists, even though it doesn't look like my kind of thing, is getting, a lot. So, take my list with a grain of salt. I've got Bo Burnham's comedy movie special that he made in isolation, Inside. I thought it was a wonderful, in the sense of like this special that was just made self-contained in the home and had like endless creative ways of lighting scenes and composing songs. In saying that, I think the second half is bogged down a little bit by a lot of closes, and I wish there was some more throwaway, more comedic songs. But there was definitely, I think, a sense of it dragging on in the second half that I don't think the first half had. And I'm of the controversial opinion that I do think overall I preferred What and Make Happy to Inside. But it still made my top 10 of 2021. So, leave me be. Don't take the kids. I've called the cops. Number 8 got Nicolas Cage. And I actually reviewed this movie on this channel. And it's about a chef and a pig. And of course, the movie is Pig. Now, since I've already talked about this movie before, I don't want to harbour on too much, but I thought it was an interesting movie that was a little sloppy at times, but it had a unique personality, and the parts that worked kind of hit you in the feels in a good way and made you reflect on, loss and love, but not in a usual way. Like, it showed that, one of my pet peeves in movies is that people take these universal themes like grief and loss, but they'll show it in the most straightforward way possible because they know that the audience is already going to do their work for them. So say, you'll watch a movie and someone's dying of cancer, then, it still has to, for me, be an interesting movie. I think for a lot of audience, they'll see that kind of storyline and they'll be like, oh God, imagine that happening, or I knew when this happened, and they're putting so much of themselves into a lifeless movie that's using a horrible scenario as an excuse and not trying to be an interesting movie. And so I appreciated that about Pig. Perhaps it doesn't deserve the 8th spot in a top 10 of the year list, but I really admire its attempt at originality. At number 7, we've got, and I've also reviewed this as well, and I'm a bit peeved this got less than 100 views because I think this review was hilarious and I threw in lots of energy and lots of jokes and memes and no one watched it. Alright, so at number 7 I've got Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0 Thrice Upon a Time, and since I did review this, I don't want to talk too much about it. It is the third ending of Evangelion, the anime series, and I still prefer End of Evangelion, but for the fans that have been really invested in all these rebuilds, I think that this is an interesting double take and says a lot of hopeful and interesting meta messages for the fan base. It seems that Anno is very much in a more mentally healthy and stable state, and I think that's great. Power to him. I really hope he does something original next, because I would love to see what a post-Ava Anno world looks like, and I think he has the potential to make more interesting anime or live action stuff, and I'd love to see it. Now, getting past that, these next 6 films I did like a lot. So we're getting past the ones I'm like, yeah, that was good, better than Dune. But these next 6 I'm like, yeah, that was solid. I had a good time at the movies. Hell yeah. So at number 6, we're going back to medieval times. We're going to The Green Knight. This was a retelling of an Arthurian legend about Sir Gawain. I don't remember his name. It's been a while since I saw The Green Knight. It's about nobility and accepting your fate, and also a comment on destiny, ego, that sort of thing. Yeah, it's just really cool and interesting, and sort of felt like watching a fable, but mostly I just liked being in that world. I thought just the atmosphere was awesome. I really enjoyed a lot of the filmmaking. Great to see Dev Patel again in something. I think he's awesome. He really carries it and is a really charismatic, hapless hero, in over his head type. The Green Knight itself, without giving anything away, was just a really cool concept and had me hooked from start to end. So now we're into the top 5. 5 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, at the 5th spot we have body horror of Titan or Titan. I don't know if it's Titan or Titan because I've heard it both ways. Winner of the last Palme d'Or. I thought that movie was wild. Had a lot to say about gender and identity. And we're talking about a movie where a woman has sex with a car. It's a sentient car. And it turns into a sort of found family, gender discovery, wild ride of a film that I don't think ultimately succeeds in everything it's trying to do, but if it succeeded, that would have been spectacular. Like, that would be like such an accomplishment. And to see someone going for that and like almost getting there is amazing. A guy in it, Vincent Lindon's character, really stole the film for me. I thought he was excellent. I'm really looking forward to Julia Ducournau's future work. I thought Raw was really fun as well. They're just really enjoyable, and body horror is right up my alley as well. I like movies where you have to analyze the sickness of horror to get more from it, because just straightforward scared, I don't really get scared with horror movies. I need something I can kind of think about and pick apart as I'm watching, and I just think her work will be perfect for that in future, and I think she's got a voice that's starting to develop, and I hope she doesn't shy away from being this ambitious as well. Number 4 though, Power of the Dog. This is a bit of a slow burn. It's sort of going for a bit of a There Will Be Blood kind of look with the setting and the textures and the Johnny Greenwood soundtrack, and I really enjoyed that. It's nowhere near as good as There Will Be Blood, don't get me wrong. But I thought I got a nice feeling of the sentiment of all the characters and their loneliness and wanting to be loved. And Benedict Cumberbatch as the sort of bully that's kind of keeping some of the family from kind of forming as a whole. He was somewhat of a weak link in the sense of that I didn't buy him as an American, rancher, but I did think his performance was strong. I think that I was more invested in the couple and Kirsten Dunst's son in the movie, Cody Smith-McPhee's character. I thought he was really interesting, and I just thought it had a cool, like, unwindy sort of thing where at the end it all kind of came together, and I was like, oh yeah, I see. It kind of commented a little bit on sacrifice, especially sacrifice for those you love, to sort of do what you can for them. I'm sad to put this at 3 because I always want to put him as at number 1. One of my favorite directors of all time, Paul Thomas Anderson. Beautiful man. Beautiful movies. I've pretty much loved everything he's made. Except maybe Hard Eight's not that great. Like, it's alright, it's a first film. Come on, cut him some slack. But I love Boogie Nights, and I love There Will Be Blood, which I've already talked about before in this video. And The Master, and Phantom Thread, Magnolia, all great movies, Punch Drunk Love. And going into this one, I was hoping, it would be a nice chill film that would be funny. And maybe have some interesting world building and, comment on the early 70s in LA. And it did all of those things. That was the movie. I thought that was the movie I was going to see. That's the movie I saw. I thought it had great cameos. I thought the age gap made it a really awkward romance, but I think that was part of the point. I don't know if they necessarily even got too much further than friendship anyway. But outside of that, I just thought it was just like a chill film that rendered those times really well. And I did think the cameos were really funny. Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman, I think, are decent new talent. And I hope to see them in other movies because I think that they were pretty good. My number 2, though, and bear in mind, 2 and 1 could really swap places. At the moment, I've ranked number 1 like a star above my number 2 on Letterboxd, but really, my number 2 could go up a star and be the number 1. So just know that there's an internal debate in my head of which of these 2 movies is number 1. But for now, I'm any sort of rewatch. I've got to go number 2 with Sean Baker, the director of Florida Project and Tangerine, and his new movie, Red Rocket, starring Simon Rex. I can't believe Simon Rex got a break. An embarrassing thing to admit about me. I used to watch a lot of the Scary Movie movies when I was a kid, and I was about like 10 or something, and I thought Simon Rex was really funny in Scary Movie 3, and I saw that he was going to be in this, and it didn't register, and then a friend told me who he was, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, I know that guy. I can't believe and then I looked at his actor page, and this resume of movies, I was like, oh my god. And the fact that he's in this movie, and it's like a serious, fairly major release, right? Like, at least it'll probably win some awards and whatnot. It's huge. Like, what a break. And he's really good in it. So I'm really happy for him. Ironically, he plays like such a narcissistic, man-child, piece of shit in this movie, Red Rocket. But that's also great, because I love watching those kind of characters. I think they're really funny. And he's the sort of character that sort of manipulates you, and you think you can see right through it because you think, oh, he's so transparent, he's harmless. But it's like, well, he's not. He doesn't care about you really that much at the end of the day. He's like a horn dog. He's borderline a predator, and you just sort of get a feeling for his cycle starting to repeat. And I thought that's just that was really cool. And I liked the sort of social realist meets Jim Jarmusch kind of chill comedy that tries to, capture the mannerisms of, street life people. Hell yeah, Red Rocket. It could be my number 1 if you'd asked me in a month's time or a few weeks, or if I rewatched both movies, I might be like, nah, Red Rocket's number 1. But for now, my number 1 is Annette. Now, Annette, for a lot of fans of these kind of weird, art housey, kind of surreal movies, a lot of people kind of find Annette a bit muddled. And I sort of get that. And to get all the complaints out of the way, I love Sparks, but it does annoy me at times that all these songs in the movie are kind of anthemic, so they keep repeating lyrics, and it's I just like a bit more diversity in the lyrics. But in saying that, you know how sometimes when you watch a film, you don't really remember the completeness of a film. Sometimes what stays with you is a few great scenes. And sometimes all the movie really amounts to is like a few great scenes with a bunch of other crap, thumbtacked around it, right? I thought this just had all of those great scenes. You've got Tickle Time, you've got Adam Driver's delightful take of evil Bo Burnham, doing the stage as this like comedian that's like really aggressive and self-hatredizing himself. And you got like good comment on art and all that kind of stuff, but and also just the some of the songs were really good. The composer's song was really funny, and I don't know, I thought that those songs were the funniest songs in the movie. There was a great courthouse song that actually caught me off guard and actually made me feel things. Like I thought that was a really emotive and powerful bit. The baby itself, that Acer Arena scene, without spoiling it, I thought that was the most delightfully, hilariously absurd scene I'd seen in ages, and it just tickled me. So, it was tickle time. Now, this movie's not going to work for everyone. For a lot of people, it's a bit of a mess. They might be looking for something more cohesive, but I think a lot of cohesion comes in. I think especially that ending really displays a lot of the message of the film, gives it some power, and really showcases the narcissist bent to run off with art and just like do all these big, mad, creative things, but also, keeping a check on the human element and, what's at stake and that sort of thing. And that's all there. But the biggest takeaway I think I got from Annette was that it was just such a movie, It felt like such a movie to watch, where it was like all these silly things are happening. There was just a lot of variance. I thought the characters were interesting. I liked that it took some bold choices, and I thought the comedy really hit with me, and I found that to be really funny. Some of the repetition of the lyrics does get a bit annoying, and I think the first act of the movie could lose a lot of people, but then once it kind of clicks in, I was in, and I had a smile on my face, and I think, probably 14 times while I was watching it was like, this is awesome. And anything that gives me that feeling, I don't think is anything to be frowned at. So for that, I'm going to give Annette my movie of the year. Red Rocket is very close. The others, very good, most of them, but I wouldn't say they're as good as those two for me. And this whole thing's subjective anyway. If you disagree with me, that's actually great. People should have opinions. I don't know why people are so afraid to have an opinion. That's good. You should have another opinion. You're a completely different person. Suffice to say, you're wrong. I'll leave you to it. And have a great day, and I hope 2022 isn't as awful as the last 2 years. It can only be better, or much, much worse. Thank you. Namaste.